I'm sure it'll come back. It just needs to... Yeah. So for those at home, Dart, unfortunately, is discovering, I think, that his very advanced technical fan has stopped functioning. I've never met a fan like it. It's
Pull the tradies!
On your knees,
You
Captain!
Space dog. On your knees, Captain. It's time to receive some spice.
Spice!
Some spice.
Show everyone how you look. Show everyone your... So this one's being filmed. If you want to check this out, it's on YouTube. Welcome to meet you, everybody. My name's Robbie Armfield. With me, as always, very special guest...
Dart Sultan, hello.
Darcy Solomon.
Darcy Solomon. Welcome to the show. Welcome to meet you.
It's the show you love to hate. Boy, we get a lot of hate.
Fuck, we get a lot of hate. How much hate do you reckon we've received? 3 comments? 4 comments in total?
I think like we've received... I was actually talking to Jordan earlier today about how I deal with hate.
Yeah.
And... I think with the amount of feedback that we get, which is minimal, I think relative to other projects or something.
Yeah.
Like silence is the worst.
Yeah, silence is no one caring is the worst.
Surely.
Yeah. To the amount of feedback we get is we get minimal hate.
Which is nice. It's so nice. And even the hate, I kind of feel like it's fine. Like there was one particular friend that you have that we might have already talked about where he had... Did we talk about it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Anyway.
Who used your name, funny version.
Yeah, he said that I basically said I wasn't funny. It's sort of like, how do you respond to somebody saying to you, you're not funny?
Yeah.
How do you? I mean, so for me, that particular guy, I came to learn soon after learning that about him that I likely would not get along with him anyway. So it was sort of okay to me that he didn't like me because I probably wouldn't like him.
Yeah.
What about you? Has anybody said to you, man, you're not funny?
It's so funny, no.
Right.
No one's ever said that to me, but if someone said it to me, and this might sound super arrogant, and I remember a friend asking me this, my friend Tom asked me this one time. He said, what would you do if someone was like, you think you're funny, you're actually not funny? And I said, I wouldn't believe them. I wouldn't be offended because I wouldn't believe them. And tell me if you think this sounds arrogant, but this is why. Like, you know, I did this experiment. We did this experiment when at uni. This like kind of in my psych degree where they got all of the class to go up the front of the class. We're all at the front of the class in the lecture hall, and we're all given numbers between 1 and 100. And our goal, we were allowed to pair off with one person, and our goal, you put the number on your head, and you just walk around, and your goal is to pair off with someone and have the highest number possible combined. right? So you get a number, you don't know what number you have. It's on your head, you've got a 10 or you've got a 20. And you just have to walk around and find someone else, obviously the highest number possible to get the highest combined numbers. That makes sense? But you don't know what your number is.
It is interesting. Yeah. So what happened?
So what happens is you start milling around in the class and people start not looking at you, like look away from you immediately when they look at you and stuff like that, because you quickly learn you've got a low number.
Your status becomes apparent.
Yeah, in the test, and nobody wants to talk to you to pair up because you've got a low number. And then, you know, you're looking through and everyone's like kind of like looking away. You're like, hey, do you want to? Nah, sorry. Then eventually you see a 15 out of 100 and they're like, yeah, let's pair up. And then you're together. And so what this experiment, I think it was in developmental psychology, was to completely dumb down and show a really crystallized, super fast forward way of how we learn a perception of our own attractiveness through the reactions of others from the early in life. That people learn about their own desirability in many ways by basing it off others. And what were we talking about before this?
Did you get a high or a low number?
Low.
We should also say this was done with a group of 4-year-olds, right?
Yeah, me and the 4-year-olds. Yeah.
So you had a low number.
Yeah.
They turned away.
They all turned on me.
This reminds me of one of those.
They ended up in a polyamorous, and it was me. And
polycule.
They ended up in a polycule.
You know that show. I don't know if there are these. It's always British.
Yeah.
These reality shows that it's kind of Love on the Spectrum style, where it's like well-meaning reality shows where we learn something scientific through it.
Yeah.
So going into like a home of demented old people and just like watching what they're like. There's this one where they pair them up with 4-year-olds.
I remember.
You've
that.
seen this? I can't remember what it's
that
called.
being particularly sweet.
My family loved it. I'm sure a lot of people loved it. I felt really awkward about it.
Really?
I feel like it's a bit...
Oh dear, be careful. Something might drop off. Hang on.
Old People's Home for 4-year-olds is back.
How old is very, very old?
37.
And this time we're in one of the UK's largest retirement villages with some brand new visitors.
It's lunchtime.
In the long...
There was also that one where it just watched like 4-year-olds, like only, and it had the same level of expert analysis as a show like Married at First Sight, where it always cuts to them. They're like, so what's happening here is, right, so Sally, okay, so she's thrown her toy out because she's upset with Duncan. And that's like real life, isn't it? It's like when you've got your job, your first job, right, like later in life. It's rubbish. I think it's rubbish. I think it's really weird, actually. We probably are generally kidding ourselves a bit that we're not just exploiting those we're watching voyeuristically.
Yeah.
There's always an element of...
Yeah, of course.
There's always an element of exploitation, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm interested in how you experience that exercise of learning you had low status. And it sounds like a good icebreaker exercise, I think. That's one that sounds really good to me.
Yeah.
It's really interactive. You can map it quite easily to your own life experience.
Yeah.
It's not like one of these ones where it's like, okay, group of 6, like hold your hands out and fall into them.
Yeah. It was good. It was hard not to take it personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was early on, so it was early on in the degree?
It was. It was early. No, sorry, it wasn't. It was late in the degree, but it was early on in the year.
So these were fresh people and new people?
It was new people because it was when I just moved to Melbourne. So everyone was new to the class. It was like first class.
Did you make any friends from that experience?
I made famously no friends during university. Do you know, that's not true. I made a few when I lived on campus, but like it's impressive how little connections I made with people for how long I did that shit.
Why do you think that was the case?
I think I had a lot. So it's simply put, I have a really strong friend group outside of uni. So if I'm dedicating time, it's usually to that. But I had a lot of shame in uni. I felt like I was taking the piss. I couldn't get my act together in terms of like studying and all that.
Same.
I used to not go to class all the time. So I felt embarrassed. I felt like everyone thought I was a dead shit and I was going to drop out anyway.
Same,
Yeah.
actually.
You felt that way?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's a terrible feeling. It stuck with me.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I've never felt... Yeah, I'm now that you mention that, it's interesting to think about the level of embarrassment, like sustained embarrassment that I felt throughout the years of my tertiary education.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I was so embarrassed all the time.
I was horribly embarrassed.
I would happily not go.
Yeah, same.
I met my wonderful brother, Mitch, there, which was so, something that I'm forever grateful for.
Oh, that's awesome.
But,
You met Mitch at uni?
yeah, I did.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Such a awesome experience. But yeah, anyway, here we are now.
I've got this one good mate from uni, unless I'm forgetting someone, Nick. And he's just like, Nick, if you're listening, which he sometimes does, I think, shouts out to you. And the only reason we're mates is because of him. Like, he is just like one of those people that just time and time again, like, continues to invite me to things, invited me back then, includes me, and it's just lovely. And like, there's been no, like, for a long time I didn't reciprocate. You know what I mean? But it also helped because we ended up working at the same place a little while later, and then we became fast friends. But he was always so lovely to me in uni, including me and stuff. I felt like I was hated.
It bloomed.
Yeah. I felt like, I don't know, thinking back to myself when I would go to like social situations, I remember feeling bigger than everyone else. And like, I know that I'm like overweight, but like in a different way. Like, I felt literally like I did not fit in. Everyone kind of like was really like these wafy, like uni kids. And like, you know how I dress sometimes. And like, I don't know, I just felt like people were like, this guy's a bit of a fuckwit, honestly, and a bit full on. And we're all chill finding ourselves. And I think this guy's on a different journey. That's what I felt like. And it was obviously completely me.
I think we talked about this on my other show, like, as an idea, that like the concept of growing one's hair out is like the straightest thing you could ever hear. Isn't it?
I'm growing my hair out.
I'm as a goal for a year. Yeah. My goal this year, I know a guy. I know a guy.
I bet I can. Do I know the guy?
You know of him, I believe.
All right.
I know a guy, and I'll say it to his face. Like, I don't like the idea. But like, his goal for, I think it's this year, or it was last year, was to just not cut his hair. Like, that was one of the goals. Like, I'm going to grow my hair out, grow my beard out. And I was like, you look so good without that. What the is everything okay?
I feel like it's an act of rebellion.
Against what?
Yeah, exactly.
It just drives me crazy.
Societal norms.
Oh, God, we're all there, aren't we?
Yeah.
I've been reckoning with that idea of contrarianism recently, because we were talking about it with Jordan, weren't we, on another episode? I think we've both been through phases, in and out of phases of contrarianism, I would say. Do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was thinking about it in terms of, I recently rewatched Banshees of Inisherin, a movie that I think is very good. Dart, I sort of brought it up innocently enough. I thought he'd like it too, because we had experiences recently where we absolutely saw eye to eye. And Dart didn't much care for it. And that's fine.
No, I didn't enjoy my viewing.
There it's been said. But I'm reflecting on that, and I even said, I said to you at the time, I said, not even the beauty of any of the shots, not even the beauty of, some of the shots are only just the most stunning Irish fucking vistas. It's like the most, just like a profound sunrise or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, not even that. He's like, no.
Yeah, I said no. I said no. And I said it to be honest, because
I believe you. It's just confronting to me.
It is confront. I think what it speaks to is how unengaged and I was wholly in that. Yeah. Because, do you know, there's something going on with the sense of humor that, who's the filmmaker?
I actually don't know his name.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And then the main guy, Sean...
O'Doherty or...
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, what are they?
He's really...
Gary O'Farrell? What's it?
Well,
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell. there's something about, like, even in Bruges or whatever, which I think is a really good film, there's something abrasive about their sense of humor and their, like, nihilism that they bring to projects that make me feel like they're ugly, even when I like them. So Banshees of Inisherin for me, I can't explain why, and I'm not saying it's the right opinion, but my personal feeling on it is that it's not. I don't remember thinking it was beautiful to look at because it felt like a tongue-in-cheek set to me or something, and that I was supposed to be laughing at everything, and everything was supposed to be some cheeky, scathing take, and I don't know. I just, like, I couldn't resonate with the beauty of because it felt like everyone was in prosthetics or something, and, like, I don't know. I just didn't.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I found the second viewing to be worthwhile for me. My first viewing was compromised in that I was, like, bleeding out. I had just given blood for, like, the first time.
Oh, no.
And you get pummeled, you get shoved full of sugary treats to sort of, I don't know. And so I was in this half day. I, like, slept through half of it. So, like, rewatching was powerful, and it sort of deals with interesting ideas of, I mean, you know, life, death, legacy, what it means to live in the now versus how you are, you know, how your memory might be taken beyond your life.
Yeah.
But, you know, anyway,
you said that you were reckoning with the idea of contrarianism.
Yes.
And that film contributed to your
response to it did. So for me, in particular, and we talked about it now, but in particular, that idea of the beautiful scenery.
Yeah.
It's been resonating for me a bit, wondering about that idea of just saying, nope, I find that ugly.
Yeah.
You know, and anyway, so, you know, because a sunset doesn't have to always be beautiful. There are these sort of prescribed ideas of beauty, right? That nature is beautiful, that blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I think I reckon one is heard the loudest when they say something like, the cityscape is my supreme beyond, or something.
Yeah,
you know,
like something provocative.
Yeah. Like I look at I can't think. There are some notable people that unfortunately I can't think off the top of my head, but they do say things like this. They're like, you know, I hate a nature walk. It's shit.
David Lynch would say something like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring that up because I, for the first time the other night, watched Inland Empire.
Haven't seen it yet, but been meaning to.
Oh.
Evil was born and followed the boy.
I would love your thoughts. I
saw you gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Follow us on the Letty. Dart Sultan, Robbie Armfield. I'm not sure if you can search, but I saw your review did contain spoilers. Robbie Armfield.
Okay, yep.
But your review contains spoilers, so I didn't read it. But
yeah, fair enough. I'm very cautious with the you can put a spoiler tag on your reviews on Letterboxd. No one ever usually uses it from what I see. I use it a lot.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, because I view basically any specifics about the film to be a spoiler, and I want someone reading my review to basically I don't want to color anything, you know, so I refer to something that happens to a character. That's a spoiler to me. So I always put spoiler on there.
So you watched the movie by yourself?
I watched the movie by myself.
How was it? Yeah, it's worth seeing?
Well, the reason that it's worth seeing, the reason that I put up, for those who don't know, Inland Empire is David Lynch's 2006 film. It was his last It's his last feature-length film. I think he said that it was going to be his last, and then he obviously came back and did The Return of Twin Peaks. But the reason that he dipped out was because of long-form media, is because he doesn't perform well at the box office. Inland Empire being the like final kind of footnote on that legacy, which was he spent 15 mil that he basically financed himself, and it made 4 million. And what Inland Empire did, and what watching Dune, and we're going to talk about Dune 2 a little bit later, and most importantly, the Priscilla review, which we've all heard now, it's made me start thinking about what makes me like a film. I actually think that it's less extrinsic, it's less about the film, and it's actually more about me. Because Robbie rightly pointed out that after I watched Dune 2, Robbie hadn't seen it yet, after I watched Dune 2, I said to Robbie that I didn't understand the story, but it didn't really matter to me because what was being brought in front of my eyes was so beautiful and incredible. The vibes were so strong that I was happy just to be taken along for the ride. Something similar to that, which Robbie said was interesting because it was my exact criticism, basically, of Priscilla. Regardless of how it felt or looked or vibes or whatever, it was boring to me and it was long, and therefore I didn't like it. Yet Dune 2, my first viewing, was similar to that, but I did like it. And it has made me think, like, am I that simple? Like, is it just because, oh yeah, but it was in space and there was cool shit, therefore it's good? Like, I want to understand more as an exercise in understanding myself what it is that makes me like films.
It's a beautiful question. What stories resonate with us?
Yeah.
Why do they do so? It's a great question.
And Inland Empire was really challenging and interesting. And my 4 stars, please take it with a grain of salt because it's such a hard film to rate. And I don't really feel equipped to rate it. But it's 3 hours long. And this thing is, oh my gosh, it wears you down. And it's so ugly to look at, and it's so ugly to listen to. It's ugly, ugly, ugly. Yet, I couldn't, similar to Priscilla, in the way that, like, that's the point. It felt so masterful because, you know, people talk about Lynch's horror efforts, and he really is in a league of his own, dude. And I'm a 32-year-old old ugly fuck who's watched a lot of horror movies and is pretty unmoved these days. And I was sitting there on my computer chair watching Inland Empire, and I got full body shivers from head to toe after 2 moments, and had to pause the film with my arms goosebumped and look around because I was so scared of being alone in my apartment after watching this film. It is the most... there is one scene in particular that I will say is, and if you've seen it, you'll know the forest walk scene, is probably nearly the scariest thing I've ever seen on film.
Wow.
And I just wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared because that's the beauty of, like, David Lynch's fucking art making, dude, is he just, like... He doesn't put you in a scary setting. He puts you in apartments, and he puts you in social settings, and he puts you out the back of a diner, and he can just fucking scare you if he wants to. You know what I mean? Elevating
the pedestrian is something that I'm keen to touch on here as well in regards to MGMT's album Loss of Life, which hopefully we'll have time to also touch on.
Absolutely.
When it's done well, I don't think anything more affecting. I agree. And it makes me, like, I won't go on and on about this, but I just need to mention it. It really reminds me of this incredible video game that has a cult following from back in the Super Nintendo days, Mother or Earthbound. And you might know Ness from Super Smash Bros. Yeah, I do. Yeah, he's from Earthbound. And it only came out in Japan, but it's an RPG, role-playing game. And usually RPGs like Final Fantasy, you're in knights and you're wearing, whatever else, or Lord of the Rings type stuff, and it's turn-based and this and that, and you're fighting orcs and blah, blah, blah. The whole thing about Mother or Earthbound is that you're a young boy, Ness, and you've got the beginnings of psychic abilities, and real-life objects start coming to life.
everything fantasy is elevated things from real life that are kind of like metaphorically transformed into enemies or antagonists. Like an antagonist might be the dog next door. You know what I mean? Like that's a boss battle in this game. And it's like heralded as this genius masterpiece, I think, because we're so quick to like go to fantasy. And I think that we sometimes ignore, as you say, the importance and the effectiveness of just the things around us. And we don't need to stray so far sometimes to get some genuine, real feeling out of like, there's a lot of juice in the fruits around us, you know what I mean, that is sometimes ignored. People think they need to create a world sometimes.
It's probably why people take drugs a lot of the time, right?
I think it absolutely is.
Dune 2, I love calling it Dune 2. It really pisses off my good friend Bernie.
Does he? Instead of Dune Part 2?
Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
So Dune 1 came out a couple of years ago. Denis Villeneuve, he's, awesome. That was a good one. And then Dune Part 2, what a heralded cinematic event this has been. And I think it's been round robin, cheers and applause. I mean, this is a 5-star thing from pretty much everybody, I believe.
Yeah, people are loving it.
So there's that context going into it, but I was wowed. I mean, I absolutely... We went to the VMAX in the city, Sydney City.
We did.
Bernie organised us to sit in this the most amazing seats in the whole cinema.
Yeah. We were in the middle, single file.
Single file
Me in the middle, Bernie behind me, Rob in front. I'd seen it already.
This is my first time. And I fucking, it just... The tension and release... Because, it's a long movie... But the way it peppers you along in just... I haven't read the book properly, right? But everyone talks about the world building. And I think for me, the sense of the world is very palpable and the scale of things is very much there. And the style is great. You can get into the nitty-gritty of how characters relate and whatever, and whether it's similar to the book, whatever. But the experience of this in a cinema is a good one, I think.
I feel like it's nearly boring to talk about.
I know.
In praise, because I think I really confidently feel it just doesn't really get much better than this if you're looking for a sci-fi epic. It's Denis Villeneuve making an incredible heralded story look the dopest it could probably look. It's just good. Like, it's just a good ingredients. You're going to get probably something close to fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's what they have. Like, it's so fucking cool, man. And like, I was so focused. I saw the first one at IMAX when it first came out, and I didn't really understand it. And I loved it. I gave it 4 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd back then. And I meant to rewatch it, and I never went back to rewatch it. I watched the second one at the cinema, had the exact same experience. Didn't understand it, but really liked the way it looked. And gave it 4 stars again. And I remember, I think I said to people, so someone's scraping metal on concrete.
Scraping shit off the street.
It's a grave digger with a shovel behind
collecting
collecting ashes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched it a second time with Robbie, the second one, and I understood the story. And it's an incredible story. And then I rewatched the first one on my own time and absolutely understood the story there as well. And now I have a whole brand new appreciation, especially for the first one, because they have so much information to tell you and they don't waste a second of screen time. Everything on screen has meaning, and every reaction, everything, which is crazy for an artist who's so visually driven like Denis Villeneuve to be able to masterfully condense a story and tell it visually so incredibly. And I was talking to Charlie earlier. I went on a beach walk with my mate Charlie, and we were talking about it, and I said, people have probably pointed this out, but did you notice the first line that Paul Atreides says in the first Dune? It's when they're siding over the spice fields from the Harkonnen to the Atreides, which is what sparks the war and everything. And the Emperor is coming to their planet to sign it off and do that whole big ceremony. And the mother says to Paul, "You're going to need to dress in your formal wear." And then Paul says, "For battle." And then she says, "No, for ceremony." And then Paul says, if everything's already been decided, why do we have to go through all this? And then she looks at him again and says, for ceremony. Think about that line. If everything's already decided, why do we need to go through all this? And then his mum says, for ceremony. And to think about the nature of predetermination and destiny in Dune, I just thought that was such an incredible first line for Denis Villeneuve. I don't know if it's the first line in the book, but to, summarize or to allude to the journey that they're about to, why do they need to go through all this if it's already predetermined? These predetermined futures.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Ceremony is a huge thing, and it's just it makes me think about the importance of ceremony and the importance of it's just
the cinematic spectacle in itself. You could say,
Exactly.
It's like, why go through? We know this story.
Yeah.
We know the book.
Yeah.
It's been tried.
Yeah.
Let's go through this. I like that. I like that a lot, especially considering his later, spoiler alert, ability to, reckon with future and past.
For sure.
So, yeah, that's a really nice idea. I love, I love reckoning with what's first said.
Yeah.
And what's last said. Yeah, the first and the last.
It's so high school essay.
It really is.
But it's good. It's good.
But fucked, they're always doing something with it. I will tell you. They were always touching on something.
Yeah.
Whether they want to or not,
I know.
they have to reckon with the fact that something will begin it and something will finish it. And of course, they're gonna put some time into that.
Yeah. It's just good. And like I just got to appreciate and marvel how that dude can put together something so incredible and have it perfect.
Marvel Studios, you mean? The Dune Marvel story.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm halfway through Werner Herzog's memoir at the moment. It's called, what's it called?
The Whole Hog.
The Whole Hog. I love memoir titles, by the way. It's something that me and Tristan have a lot of fun with. He's got one, I should say, like
for him.
For him, yeah, he's come up with one. Last Drinks.
Do you remember any that you've come up with?
Let me have a look here. There's a couple of things I want to touch on. Memoir. Here we go. Anyway. Exclamation mark. That's my one, I think.
Anyway.
Just my luck. ... Last drinks.
Last drinks.
You win some, you lose me.
Oh.
Now this is a Tristan one. I love this one. Hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
So hiding in plain. I've told you this one before. Hiding in plain sight. The idea. It's like lamenting one's artistic efforts in your life. That you're like, I've been here the whole time. Why can't you see me? I'm making brilliance.
Yeah.
Hiding in plain sight, my story, I love that one. There's a couple more here. Oh, God.
I've got mine.
Dumpster diving with a mortgage.
Are you ready for mine? You got more?
One more.
Well, go.
I started it. Anyway.
Mine's mistakes on purpose.
Fuck, that's good. My mistake-driven life.
What does that mean?
Fail forward. It's always those kinds of things, isn't it? So I want to touch on...
have you got anything else to say about Dune 2?
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
But lastly, I do want to say, if you out there... Thanks for being with us, of course. We appreciate you. We hope you're doing well. If you've got a memoir title that you want to submit, of course, comment, send us a message about it. We'd love to hear them. YouTube comments, put them in. Also, so if you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments. If you're listening, post it on the Instagram story when I prompt you guys for thoughts. And also join the Discord. Welcome to Meet You Discord. Lots of people chatting. There was a few shots fired in Jordan's direction, and
Jordan's in the Discord, so Jordan was talking to people, and it was fine. There was no fights or anything, but I like to see that discourse.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Definitely. And also thank you to our Patreons.
Honestly.
To our Patreons, we salute you and we say thank you so much. We see you and we are making efforts to feed you the slop that you so desire.
No, none of this slop. I don't like that. Jordan brought that. I don't like
Can I say?
It's not true.
I feel like it's okay for me to say because I spend an inordinate amount of time making them good. So
the slop is Robbie's
I can say
fucking
slop.
slaving over it.
I can say slop because my life goes into this.
It's like
a lot of my life.
Yeah.
So it's okay for me to say, but I do. It's loving slop.
It is loving slop.
It's loving. So anyway, thank you very much. But yes, I wanted to just briefly say that it's in the preface to Herzog's memoir. That's like I can't remember. Look up the name yourself. But he says I finished this book. A hummingbird came to my window and I stopped mid-sentence at that point. I just had he had a feeling he had a feeling and he went with the feeling. And so in terms of starting and finishing a thing, like sowing that seed that this book is going to end mid-sentence because of where he was in the writing of it is such a lovely, poetic.
That's wild.
It's so, isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's just like that guy, give it a go and watch his stuff. And what an interesting guy. Wow.
I have been trying to, and that inspires me in this direction, as well as characters like Agent Cooper, I think is from Twin Peaks, being guided by your instincts.
Yeah.
Not in I feel like this sounds pretty out there, but I do feel like spirituality, being in touch with yourself, we don't understand the subconscious. There is something powerful about instincts. And I feel like oftentimes your instincts are correct. Everyone's instincts are correct. Oftentimes. That's why the nature of instinct oftentimes and it's something that can be developed. And I just think that I've been trying to get less cerebral about some things and just trust my instincts. Comes to a lot of times with relationships.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll reflect again on something that I mentioned on one of our Patreon episodes, I think, about Touching the Void, that movie. He was trying to he was in a dire situation getting off this mountain. He was by himself. He was likely going to die. And he says to the camera that, he had to make decisions or he'd be fucked. And we sort of talked about that, but that's what that speaks to me of. It's sort of like you feeling the intuition and doing on the back of that. So it's sort of it's the doing.
Yeah.
It's the feeling and the doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to touch on is just that idea that you mentioned of seeing a movie, not following it. It's something that Jordan brought up very humorously in the group chat. Your experience of Tenet. Which I too had the same experience as this, but it's very funny for me to think about this. Would you mind getting up your review of it?
Yeah.
And I think it might be fun for us to share as our final words on Dune 2, what we wrote about Dune 2 in our Letterboxd.
Oh yeah.
Tenet, Nolan, famously kind of fucking convoluted, time travel-y thing.
Yeah.
That Bernie, my good friend, adores.
Yeah.
So too does our friend Jules. Adores it. They've got a framed poster of it above their TV. It's not a movie that I feel that way towards.
And I hate it. I gave it 1 star on Letterboxd. I stand by that to this day.
Incredible. And
that that's not I was disappointed with this and I gave it a 1 star because I thought it was going to be good. Yeah, I thought it was going to be fucking awesome. But it's like when I saw the final Star Wars, right? The final Star Wars is dog shit. That being said, trying to be a little bit objective, it's still like a semi-competent film and it looks amazing and I had fun. So it's not a 1-star film as much as it is in the context of Star Wars. It's a slap in the face, right? But Tenet, to me, is a failure of a film. And my review, I think it's my most liked review on Letterboxd, 12 likes, is this movie is fucking arse. At no point did I know, 1, who anyone was, 2, what side they were on, 3, what they were doing, and 4, why they were doing it. Yet, this isn't because it's some elaborate, sophisticated time travel movie. The time travel is the easiest part to understand because it's dumb as fuck. It's literally just an excuse to have one car chase scene with a backwards car crash and one backwards building explosion and one backwards fight scene. It's confusing because the movie does such a poor job of giving you information. Everyone talks too fast and almost mumbles. The storyline is unclear and idiotic. It's confusing, but it's so uninteresting that you don't even care. I won't spoil it, but once you realize what's going on, it's very boring. Movie is packed with cliches. Movie is corny as the writing's bad. Physically rolled my eyes in the cinema maybe 5 times. Some of the lines in this thing made me physically cringe. In quotes, I'm the protagonist. Shut up. Also, the action was really dull as well. The film is pretentious, immensely confusing, but impressively still manages to be predictable. No twist or turn catches you by surprise. Robert Pattinson is boring. The role could have been played by anyone. John David Washington is cringe, bad, and devoid of charisma. And Elizabeth Debicki is one-dimensional. Michael Caine, why is he in this? Who is he in this movie? He's literally just Alfred from Batman for some reason. What a stinker. It'll try and trick you into thinking it's something more than it is. It ain't.
I love boring used twice. I love your use of boring when you critique movies. But I mean, so that's awesome. I think I pretty much basically agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I particularly hated how you couldn't understand a single thing that was being said, but it was then like that's the point. It's like fuck you, fuck off,
fuck you. Absolutely fuck you.
But I love those top 4 points to kick it off. Didn't know anything, what was going on, who they were, why they were doing it. So
really?
Jordan referenced that in the group chat as a screenshot, being like, "This is very funny to think about this guy scream crying at any movie." It's just such a funny idea to be like, fuck,
I know.
And it's true. This movie, it's a mess. And I hate that the idea, for me, just lastly on this movie, I know we don't want to talk about this, but like I think the idea that you're just supposed to go with it, it's like, just go with it. You're not meant to understand, go with it. For me, the movie goes to such painful lengths to push you in the opposite direction of that, to make explicit what you're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
It's working like this and this and this, and here it is now working like that, and it's like, fuck, just let me go with it, can I? Like, what? You're not even letting me do what you want me to do.
It's such a good point, man.
Fuck me.
And I think, like, juxtaposed with my viewing of Inland Empire, David Lynch has, I think, Christopher Nolan has this as well, but David Lynch, art that is to be felt rather than understood. And so when I went into Inland Empire, I had that mind frame, and it was a bad feeling, but like I complete transparency, went to YouTube afterwards and was like, Inland Empire Explained, because oftentimes they add value, I think, which is a different conversation. And also I'm like, want to see what other people thought.
I could ask you what the film is about, but you don't really like to tell people what your films are about. Can I ask you instead what other theories you have heard? What have other people propounded to you about Mulholland Drive?
Many things.
Let's hear a few of them then.
No. I always say that, it's the film is the thing. The film is the thing. You work so hard to get, after the ideas come, to get this thing built, all the elements to feel correct, the whole to feel correct, in this beautiful language called cinema. And the second it's finished, people want you to change it back into words. And it's very, very saddening. It's a torture. It's the film. The language is cinema. When things are concrete, very few variations in interpretation. But the more abstract a thing gets, the more varied the interpretations. But people still know inside what it is for them.
And it was cool because there were some narrative beats in Inland Empire. It's very surrealist, it's non-linear, that I got, and there was things that I missed. And that's a pretty rewarding experience to, like, I picked up on that. Like, I felt that, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
That kind of speaks to the intention of David Lynch's art to be able to make you feel. Whereas, like, Tenet's not even close to that. Like, it's like, didn't make it. What's it?
I just want to watch a Bond movie. I don't want to watch a meta Bond movie. Just come on.
And just lastly on Dune 2, like, I just want to say that, like, I just can't appreciate enough a gothic space opera. Like, come on, man.
Come on.
It's the coolest thing. It's like, it's what Kanye wants to do. He wants to make something that feels like Dune 2.
He does.
And
That's
then
true.
he puts a fucking aesthetic social media campaign, a few all black Instagram photos, and then a Burzum adjacent album art, and then just releases another R&B album. You ain't Dune 2, dude. But good movie, right? Fucking awesome experience. You didn't move in your chair once, did you?
Didn't I?
I had this chick next to me in Dune 2. Forgot to tell Bern and Robbie.
Oh.
It eclipses the senses once you've watched this film. You don't think about anything else. This chick next to me was eating coleslaw.
Oh.
Loose coleslaw.
Gross.
And it smelt like I was at a barbecue. And then, what did she say? She got really excited one bit. I thought she might have been like retarded or something. She wasn't. Because she was like, Paul said something like, you know, a pump up or something. And she was like, June or something like that. And I want to be like, shut up.
Yeah.
And put the coleslaw away.
Yeah.
And put your shoes back on. Even though mine might be off. You put yours back on because you're stinky.
I love, in terms of consumption in the cinema, you would have experienced this by now, having been to a few movies with me. It's cat dog. I love cracking a beer at the quietest moment.
So
It's my favorite thing to do.
Robbie has some beats in a cinema. I think he does them nearly every time we're together and go to the cinema. He takes a selfie with the flash on.
With the whole cast and crew in the audience.
So, like...
Whitey, Flash, everyone's in there.
It's very, very funny. And then cracks a beer at the quietest time, which sends me... When he did it in Zone of Interest, oh my gosh. When Robbie cracked a beer at this silent Zone of Interest part...
It's pretty epic.
It was really funny. But Robbie also has another very funny thing, which is when an ad roll for the new A24, the A24 logo shows up and Robbie goes, woo!
Now, I have to credit Bridie with that one. That is a Bridie original that I have absolutely co-opted. I think it's very funny. So she will comment on every single A24 Instagram post.
She does
things like, so excited for this, checks bank account, yep, getting a ticket tomorrow. Or, you know, just like, wow, another classic, you know, something like this. And so I was in the movies with her. We watched an A24 something and... it was the Iron Claw.
Yeah.
And she yelped at the A24 and the whole cinema chuckled. It was a great... Because it's the unspoken thing that it's like, yep. And even Jim from Wildlife, a good friend Jim, his review of Zone of Interest references the sort of the grandeur that we expect of A24 these days. I think, personally, I disagree with what he said of the movie.
Yeah.
But I think he's correctly referencing the sense that we have of A24, that it's basically what did he say? Another critic-proof A24.
Yeah, another critic-proof A24. He gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Get on Letterboxd, guys.
Letty. Get on the Letty. Can I read my due too?
Oh,
review?
Sorry.
No, just briefly.
Yes.
Just briefly, just to sort of tease those that if you want to get involved with our movie writings, I actually take Letterboxd more seriously than I should probably.
No. Me, and it is a compelling social media app. We know what social media is. Letterboxd is what social media should be.
But it has gone a bit wayward. I've noticed.
Why?
Well, I've noticed some people they do little pithy one-line joke fart ones, and
Fuck them.
I don't like those ones.
Engage with your friends. That's what's so beautiful about Letterboxd.
As
Follow
Jordan
your
said,
friends.
Facebook, but awesome.
Exactly. It's Facebook, but awesome. And I'm with you. I don't like the joke reviews. I'll open a review as soon as I see it's... And they're never funny.
I'm actually going to... The next time I see one from a friend, I'm going to comment something abrasive so that they change.
Yeah, I fuck with that.
Like, do better.
Do better. Because I have jokes. I got jokes too.
Oh!
You don't think we have jokes?
We're funny guys.
Wait, you don't... Okay, sorry. Let me get this... You think I walked out of Dune 2 and I didn't have a fucking joke to say about...
You did, actually. You came out, the first thing you said was, I've got a funny Letterboxd review in my pocket. What was it?
Dune 2 is like Star Wars, but set in space.
No sense. So good.
And...
Yeah.
Bernie and Rob liked it, but then...
You didn't follow through with it.
I posted something else.
You did
I posted a worse... this was my second review. I said... yeah, I understood Dune 2 in my dreams, which is what everyone used to say about Inception.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
So that's why I was a bit disinterested in that one. But
Sure.
I preferred the other one. This is my Dune 2 review. Dune is the warmest colour. Quote. We follow Paul T. Chalamet and his mum through desert landscapes littered with psychedelic dust and man-eating worms, each more fearsome than the last. Zendaya is in the tribe and falls in love with Paul T. Chalamet to great effect. Explicit scenes with Christopher Walken were unnecessary but forgivable. See this on the biggest screen possible. Too long didn't read. Epic and carefully told. Harkonnen fireworks were awesome. Jazzed for the next. And I mean that. I do mean that. I sort of feel like it's redundant to even talk about it in a way. It's sort of just like, yeah, I don't have anything interesting to say.
I love seeing you enjoy something. And I've been loving seeing you enjoy putting care and consideration into your own reviews of movies and enjoying reading other people's and being
Thanks,
interested
yeah.
by them.
I am interested and I like it too. And
It
that's
makes me
nice.
want to review things more thoroughly as well. I pressure my friends all the time, and I'm pressuring you, Piscott, to get on Letterboxd because I'm so interested in everyone's thoughts on movies. This is why, like, I love talking about music with people as well. Like, I want to hear people's opinions, especially on projects that... What's this thought? And speaking of, we were going to talk about... I've got a little bit of...
Loss of life. MGMT's Loss of Life. LOL. LOL.
Too long didn't read? LOL.
Yeah.
Loss of life.
I should have brought the vinyl. What am I doing?
Yeah,
Anyway.
my mum is coming to visit next week.
Oh, cool.
And she has about 10 packages of mine, including one of them being Loss of Life, MGMT on vinyl.
The JB Hi-Fi exclusive color.
JB, which is always the lamest thing to... It's always like JB Hi-Fi exclusive. Yeah, it's grey.
Grey. It's grey.
Grey. Cool.
45th anniversary of Heroes, David Bowie. Grey.
Only at JB Hi-Fi.
$20 more. It's grey.
We only press 10,000.
Get it while you can.
Get it while it's grey.
I've got so much to say about this album that I'm afraid it's gonna. So I'm gonna try and be as concise as I can.
And to preface this review,
Yeah.
Robbie and I have been in very different places, and Robbie, I'll let Robbie explain the place he's been in, but essentially, Robbie's been in the perfect place for this album to hit you and mean a lot. And,
Yeah.
and you've listened to it a lot more than me. And it's really been seeping into the DNA of your life and your thinking.
Oh, yeah.
So why I say this is that Robbie's going to have a lot more to say on it than I do. I have stuff to say about it as well, but Robbie's going to have a lot more to say, and I'm going to let you cook.
I don't want to bore anybody. Turn it off now. Literally turn it off now. If you're bored, turn it off.
Well, don't turn it off now because I've got a new segment after this, actually.
Okay, we'll try and be...
That you'll like.
Yeah, this is... All right. So this album... Look, just to preface, I'm an MGMT fan.
Big time.
I think they are, modern masters.
I think Robbie might have gotten me into MGMT. Of course, the singles, you know, back in the day were at the height of me in year 12 and all that, Electric Feel or around then. And then, but also, would you have turned me on to Little Dark Age? It doesn't matter.
I think
guess.
so, yeah.
Because Little Dark Age is one of my, you know, would be, I don't know, top whatever. I love it. And then you've always, like, I didn't know really about fucking Congratulations. And
Yeah.
Robbie was like, you got to listen to Congratulations, their 2011 album. And oh, it's so good, bro. They're such a good band.
God, band,
They're
great
such a
album.
good band.
To think that came after Oracular Spectacular, and this is a, you know, if you're aware of them, this is well-worn territory. I don't want to bore anybody, but basically they are a band that, rose to extreme prominence with their early singles, Kids, Time to Pretend, Electric Feel, that they, you know, incredible, great songs, but they were sort of jokes to them in a way. And so I don't think they actually really resonated with the fame that they had accrued, and so they've zigged and zagged on a major label, and I think they've publicly spoken about an irksome, slightly awkward relationship there, but I have a feeling that behind closed doors they would have way more to say about how bad that relationship was. And I think that it's come up a lot in this most recent album cycle. In their interviews, they've talked about how freeing it has been for them to be on an independent and to be doing things on their own terms. And I think the music that's come from that it's very noticeable, the joy in the process, I think.
Fuck yeah. They make you, you know, gold standard of being a popular artist in today's age for me is MGMT. They just make quality. They're sincere when they want to be. They're playful when they want to be. They make art that makes you feel as though it means a lot to them, even though they're on this such a grand scale, and it's a joy to listen to.
They follow their muse in a way that I think is really respectable. For me, overall thoughts, let's kick it off with overall thoughts. This album came at a very particular time for me. As you say, I was very fragile, very, very fragile at the time that this released. And I was floored by this. I was floored by this to the extent that at work, I lay down on the ground in the fucking crying room and listened to this from front to back just on my phone speaker.
You had a crying room?
It's like a meditation room or whatever.
Okay,
I went in there. I was overwhelmed. I locked the door. I front to backed it. I got shivers. Very meaningful experience.
And you cried?
I was welling up. I can't say that
It's a powerful experience.
I've welled up. I well up through this thing. Yeah, this is
you
a
should
powerful.
mention you had the Muslim co-worker praying next to you on the prayer rug while this was happening.
Yes, that was beautiful but distracting.
Can you fuck off? I'm having a moment while he's praying.
I think this is a concept album. One thing we should say about this is it's a concept album. It's called Loss of Life. It's very plain about what it's obviously about. Let's give some context here. It's 2024. It's February. How long have concept albums been coming out? 67 was the first notable example of this. Obviously, Sgt. Pepper, right? The notion of a concept album has gone through 60 years of favor in the dump, whatever. All these different feelings that people have towards a concept album. To come out and and think about Kanye's experience of putting an album out and putting out an album recently. There's the revamping, the remixing on the fly while it's already out, streaming. It's just the format of music consumption, CD, streaming, vinyl, fucking tape, whatever. It all influences, I think, what the music is itself. A great example is in the CD age, you'll get all these filler tracks to fill 70 minutes of music. We're getting a tight 40-minute concept album that suits the vinyl format in 2024 that is exciting, deep, and resonant. For me, I feel that is a monumental achievement and so starkly different to what one might expect of the year 2024 when it comes to music. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's crazy what they've done.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I know exactly what you mean. It's
it's modern.
it's modern and yet it's a classic, and they, you know, managed to release something that feels so new, but also, you know,
beautiful homages, lovely. You know, they've got such a, you know, it's a tried example, but Tarantino's a good example of a filmmaker that has an encyclopedic knowledge of the form that he's contributing to.
For sure.
MGMT, I feel, are similar for they're the Tarantino of music. That's a shit thing to say, but you know what I'm getting at. When people are both able to follow their muse in a felt way and also cerebrally understand what they're contributing to in terms of the landscape, that's a powerful combination, and I think masters are in that. I think masters are there.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Absolutely.
So just what I want to say, just overall feelings on this. Yeah.
Before you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it also speaks when you said that masters are in there. Everyone wants to be a master of their craft. And I think, right, a lot of people want to.
They absolutely do. And the word craft is there for me.
Yeah.
Craft.
Yeah. Exactly. And who was it? Was it Bridie had... Tell me if we can't talk about this and we can bleep it out. A dress fitting experience.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Wedding dress fitting experience that her lovely best friend Alex organised for her. And she met this woman. She told me, Bridie, I had a party here.
Yeah.
To touch on that. I had a house party right here. This place was full of chicks, dudes. And so Bridie was telling me about this experience. She was almost welling up, talking about how special it was and how womanly and motherly the experience was, being held and guided by this older wedding dress master who had mastered her craft so much that she picked a dress off the rack for Bridie that was the dress that Bridie would eventually want, but knew that it was the right dress. That's why she picked it, but let Bridie try on a bunch of other dresses that would allow her to come back to the conclusion that the one that the dressmaker had originally picked was and Bridie just said that, do they always go with the one that you picked first? And she said yes. And she just said that this woman, she just lived and breathed her craft. And I think that with MGMT and what is so integral to mastery of craft is loving the craft, because MGMT, it feels like they genuinely love music. Tarantino loves film, and that way it becomes easy to gain that you know what Robbie said, knowledge, and reference it and heighten it because it's in your DNA. And a lot of people don't love their shit as much as...
It's a balance.
Yeah.
You got to love and you got to do.
Was that compelling?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it feels like they just live and breathe it so they can pull from it so easily.
And this is the thing. The master can make it seem easy, right?
Yes.
But what you'll know if you've ever tried anything yourself is that it's fucking painstaking. Always. I mean, there are glimmers of fun and all that sort of stuff, but if you want to get good at something, it's always a fucking effort, right? You've always got to put in effort.
I felt like we were in the room with a master when we were talking to Sam Campbell.
Yeah.
It feels like another example of that, of like, he just lives it and breathes it and hides his hand as to how much effort goes into it.
Absolutely.
It feels natural.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's a good example.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, further to what you're saying about the wedding dress thing, I think that's a great example of a great artist guiding the audience experience to their own conclusions and how that will resonate for them.
Yeah.
There is a place for bluntness.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's not. But, you know, for me, some of the greatest art that really touches me and stays with me and lingers and all that is that nice balance of not being too wafty, but saying... It's a lovely guide.
Ceremony.
It's a beautiful ceremonial guide. And anyway, we can get into it. So I think that
Oh my gosh, Robbie's got
I've got
9 pages. No,
I'm serious that like I was compelled to. I was like, whether we talk about it on pod or not, I was compelled by this album to like just write my experience of it a little bit.
I feel like you haven't been like this since Slow Rush. Dylan, your journey through Dylan has been very full on for you lately, but I remember when Slow Rush came out, you were clamoring to talk about it, to be heard. Not just in the context of what happened on our show, which everyone knows, but with your friends, personal.
Yeah. I feel like this is an important album.
Yeah.
Loss of Life. I think that overall feelings are that it's a modern marvel. It's a distinctly modern piece of music to me. I think it reckons with the complexities and dull realities of our age and our lives individually in a deep, stylish and light-hearted way. There's a duality here, I think, of that dullness and that supreme beyond that is just such a silk. It just weaves that thread silkily for me. I think that touched artists. What I feel like it. Look, death. It's a big idea. Mm-hmm. It's the inevitability that we all want to hide from, in whatever way that is. And they've dealt with death quite a lot in their lyrics. I mean, When You Die is a great example from Little Dark Age. I think it's interesting to put it in the terms of loss of life rather than just saying death. And they've said in interviews quite a lot, and I think you can feel it in the music, that the power of love sincerely beats at the core of this.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that the end is the beginning.
Yeah.
And, I guess that idea that the answer is here the whole time or something.
Yeah,
these sorts of things that mean everything and nothing at all.
Yeah.
To deal with these concepts is a lofty thing. Us even talking about it sounds bullshit and annoying somewhat. Imagine trying to put that in music that is compelling in a few different ways. They've got a song here called People in the Streets. It's political in nature, really. You can feel that. There's a chance to conclude it, from People in the Streets. But it's not redundantly short-sighted, just a political anthem of this is my cause. It somehow skirts the edges of the concept of society. It's a song about society that's not cringe.
Mm-hmm.
The power of love. It's love is, they say themselves, it's a trite idea. And it's that they really challenge themselves, supposedly, this album, to be sincerely themselves and say what they had been feeling.
Yeah. It's a great challenge.
It is.
It's awesome.
And I think they've got compelling portraits here of a few different forms of love. And where it really strikes me is, it goes through all these different phases and forms, and it finishes with Loss of Life, which concludes with this idea of then you'll learn to love your loss of life. Anyone can love, anyone can love. That's how it concludes. I have been so floored by the concept of a love so pure that it even loves the loss of its life. It's such a foreign notion to me. I'm still, and obviously I'm not sure about you, but I still absolutely fear death. And, I'm guided by fear in that way, which is interesting to bring up in regards to Dune, because, fear is the mind killer is obviously such a great sort of concept in that
it's
story.
A fantastic quote. I don't quite understand it.
I experience it when I go on a plane trip. So I have a fear of flying, and so it literally kills my mind. I can't focus on anything. I'm scattered. I'm terrified. I'm shaking. That's
Yeah,
what I
okay.
understand. Is
Yeah, that's what it means.
When
It's
it kills the mind. Fear
it
does kill the mind.
It does.
for
The
me.
mind. If you're picturing the mind, it does. It takes away. It turns you into a survival.
You turn into a quivering beast.
Yeah.
Which is unbecoming. Learning to love your loss of life. Fucking hell. So struck by that.
Yeah.
So struck by that. In Buddhism, I'm reading this book at the moment. The Buddhist and the Ethicist. Conversations on effective altruism, engaged Buddhism, and how to build a better world. Peter Singer, famous, animal rights Australian philosopher guy, and Shi Chao Hui, who I don't know anything about. I don't know anything about Buddhism. I'm just, I feel like it might be an interesting way to reckon with it in a conversational setting, which is these two talking out stuff. So I'm just bringing this up to say that this is kind of, it relates for me. She says, this is why the Buddha wanted to teach us to cultivate a deep meditative state. When we attain meditative insight, we will be able to personally experience and understand our bodies and our strong attachment to them, which is an illusion based on self-love. The body is just a relatively stable existence. However, the body's cells are like ocean foam, gathered and dispersed in an instant. So are our thoughts. If we are able to develop meditative insight and see this, we will realize that there is nothing to be attached to. Thus, we will be able to let go of the strong grasping of self-love and regard our death with ease, just as we see foliage fall from a tree. To regard one's own death as a leaf falling from a tree.
Yeah, it's pretty admirable, and it's something I would love to get to one day.
Well, we're all going to get there, let me tell you.
No, that feeling.
No, I know.
That feeling of peace.
Fuck, man. So we watched the first episode of The Curse. I hope we can talk about it in its entirety soon.
Yeah, we will.
I love the show. I think it's profound and fantastic. And I think it's a truly modern creation in the same way that I think this album is a truly modern creation. It's so much more than the sum of its pieces. It really is a holistic, conceptual mastery to me. What do you think? Sorry, that's my overall feelings. But
I'm not here anymore.
Yeah, I know. You faded away like in a Lynchian nightmare.
Only the red glow of my sunburn can be faintly seen.
I've got fucking infinite notes on each particular track. I think this is a holistic piece that has glimmering, shining moments that overall glows and lingers in its power.
To also speak about my personal experience with the album, just quickly.
Yeah.
It's probably been like one, if not my most anticipated project. I've been so keen for it. I love MGMT, but also the singles, Mother Nature in particular, which we talked about in previous episodes. One of the strongest modern songs I've heard in a long time. And then they released Bubblegum Dog, which I was a little bit cooler on when it first came out, but has possibly become my favorite song on the album. I just adore that song. I adore it. And then who with the feet and the no
Nothing to declare.
Nothing to declare. I loved that single as well. I'm a big album guy. And Robbie is as well. And so I was just like, if these are the singles, what's the album going to be like? And to speak from my personal journey, I don't think I have had the space in my personal life, as you guys will have known. And I hate that it always feels like there's been drama going on. But I had some family drama happen, and it got me to the space really where, and I've talked to Robbie about it a lot as well, where I need to free up some space in my life so I can work on some things and and enjoy myself, which is why, and thinking about you and love you if you're listening, but people who watch my stream, I've recently kind of announced that I'm going to like not be streaming as much, if not, basically not at all for the foreseeable future, because I had some big family drama happen that I needed to be involved in quite a lot, and I can't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it, and I just needed things to change, and I was very upset, and I spoke to Robbie about it, and I think this album came out around that time, and my heart's been pretty shut off, and I think that in the way that Robbie was able to have it wash over him, I was unable to do that. And I think I needed something. If I was going to be obsessed with the album straight off the gate, it would need to be the rest of the song. Basically, those, I had the singles that I loved, and then 3 more of those, and that I would have been good. And I think the rest of the album, it just hasn't resonated with me like the singles have. And I've listened to it a few times over and over, and it still, for me, I can't get this idea out of my head. And I think it's just a cognitive kind of shape that I've put around the album, that there's these 3 incredible singles, and then the rest has been kind of, they're the flags to reach, and then we kind of meander until we reach those strong flags. And I think it's incorrect. I think it's because I haven't been in a good enough space to be able to let it wash over me. So
far, not loving it.
So far, I haven't been loving it, but I think that's going to change for me, because it's very interesting. But this also happened to me with Little Dark Age. I loved the singles. The album came out. I kept listening to the singles, and eventually I was like, I want more of this sound. And I listened to the whole album, and then it became a whole album for me. So
yeah, interesting.
I think I will come back to it. I definitely will come back to it. I mean, I think I will be in a better position to have it. I don't get it yet. I feel like I don't get it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm absolutely speaking just my own personal experience here. And yeah, it did come at a perfect time. It was sort of, set and setting, as we'd like to say on the Trip Sitters Anonymous
on the Trip Sitters podcast. Should we announce that we're doing weedcasts now?
Yes.
So every podcast going forward is a weedcast.
It is. Welcome to Meet You officially does weedcasts.
It's a weedcast.
Yep. I'm just going to note some things for people, not at the moment, thanks. I'm just going to note some things for people to consider, I think, in their experience. Transport is a theme. Transportation. Ship is mentioned in Dancing in Babylon. There's a train and people in the streets. There's a sailing and loss of life. Lawn comes up a lot. The concept of a lawn. I put the groceries down on the front lawn as the first lyric on Mother Nature. In Dancing in Babylon, when it concludes with, I want to tell everyone I know I love you. And it does it in a way that's felt. And he's mentioned this in an interview, but he loves and I love too, the duality of that understanding of that lyric. It can either be exclamatory or resigned. You can either be, I want to tell everyone I know I love you, or I want to tell everyone I know I love you. There's so much rich duality going on all throughout this fucking album. There are so many examples on this album for me where it's deceptively complex, the songs. Nothing to declare when you first hear it. Same with Mother Nature. I feel like it just washes over you as this feeling of like, okay, that's kind of 60s, that's kind of Oasis-y, kind of cool, like cool as. And then you listen to it again and you try and learn it on guitar or whatever, and you notice this is a very complex composition.
I feel like all the best songs are like this.
They trick you.
Yeah.
It tricks you.
Yeah.
And all the production doesn't cloud, but it elevates. It sort of just gently guides along it just gently guides it along very nicely. Something I want to say about Nothing Changes, which is a song that Bridie had a great experience with when she first heard it, and absolutely I did too. It's deep and lighthearted. It has a lot of changes, humorously, given its title. There's very knowing, I reckon. I haven't seen this said anywhere else, but I reckon there's a lot of nods to David Bowie's Space Oddity. This is, and it sort of goes into that. And the song Days by the Kinks. Thank you for the days, those endless days, those sacred days you gave me. I'm thinking of the days. That verse melody, the end of it, is it's basically, that's the melody of Nothing Changes. And I think they're such 60s freaks that they absolutely would know that, and that would be a knowing acknowledgement. Radiohead's Fake Plastic Trees and that kind of, creep thing comes in as well. I Shouldn't Be Here. That's so creep to me.
Yeah. The whole album, it absolutely kind of 90s grunge stuff in Bubblegum Dog as well.
Yeah, 100%. They're such stylistic masters.
Where
they don't, it's not fucking pastiche. It's like actual homage. And I always say the word elevate. I'm trying to find another word, but there is this kind of like they bring along what they know and with feeling.
Bro, how rock and roll and grunge is Bubblegum Dog?
Oh, yeah.
The Bubblegum Dog. It's finally catching up
the
to
album
me.
Needed it. The album needs
What
a rocker,
the fuck?
and it absolutely delivers.
It is so rock and roll. It's like, it's that heaviness that like Queens of the Stone Age are able to that when it just like,
and it's fun like Wayne as well, and the video is fantastic. Their videos are always great. Can I say?
They're awesome.
Hate is a very strong word. It's finally catching up to me. It's just these little skerricks of poetic, shimmering beauty to me that's really resonate. In Frady's song, which is Andrew's daughter, Frady.
Oh, okay.
It's a song for her. It's sort of the I Found a Whistle of this album, which is a song from Congratulations, kind of that wistful lullaby. When he talks about a holy light was gifted to him, which is, I reckon, to do with the birth of his daughter and that kind of the love that he experienced. He thought he couldn't love anymore, I think he says in that song. I get shivers just thinking about this. After Mother Nature, the lyrics on this album are fucking crazy. In Mother Nature, it's like the lights are off, but somebody's home. And I think if you think about the album as an arc of our understanding of love, when you don't know what love is, that's probably what it's like. It's like the lights are off, but somebody's home.
Okay.
And you grow through all these certain flavors and experiences of love to eventually, in the idealized vision of this album, a purity of love so deep that you even love the loss of your life. And I just want to say lastly on Loss of Life, the actual song itself, what a gorgeous melody, progression, the lyrics. Still nothing prepares you for loss of life. This really sticks with me. What remains of disconnected dots? Who knows how the painting will look in the morning? Who knows how the painting will look in the morning? You don't know. Who knows what it's going to look like when you die? The idea of creating in the dark and the feeling on that song. Oh, Dart. The feeling on that song of both the landing, it feels like it's landing, and revving up to go at the same time. There's this listless, both of those things at the same time that it somehow does. There's these Penny Lane style trumpet flourishes that I think for me is a reference to them, saying, yes, this is a concept album, because that was a song that was made around the time of Sgt. Pepper. The pedestrian and the supreme beyond, both in the same breath. There's this wonderful sort of like, feels like hold music in like a cosmic waiting room. And it's got these sort of like plunky, sort of tubular, sparse like chords going, and this just the melody going on. Sounds like it's in a supermarket. But completely otherworldly, like you're dying. What do those final 3 low piano notes mean after it says loss of life warped? That's something that's, that dum dum dum. Don't know. Get back to us, please. What's your experience of this album? I'm going to leave it there, I think. But I think there's something about, it's movement, it's light, it's flame. It's littered with it. I love this album. It's very meaningful to me. It's sticking with me in a way that an album hasn't. Probably, I would say maybe 10 years. I don't know. I just haven't had an experience with an album
That's
like
awesome.
this.
I want to give you now something that I wrote for the episode and a new segment called Through the Looking Glass.
Yes.
Tales from the Unknown with Dart Sultan.
Good.
Through the Looking Glass. The first tale, The Boy Who Woke to an Empty World. My eyelids slowly open and adjust to the unnatural half-light of the city at night. I must have fallen asleep, but when? To awake tonight is a disorientating thing. Water and a stretch to reset my sensibilities. I drink deeply and stare out the window. The window. The original iPad. Funny, isn't it, Mr. Gates? He wouldn't care. Something's different. The usual gaggle of humans that adorn the streets are gone. There's silence. The boy puts on his pants and shoes to investigate further. He steps now onto the rain-stoked cobble as he begins to panic. No one in sight. Restaurants empty, park benches vacant. The boy starts running. Street after street. Empty. The boy falls to his knees and screams to the heavens. It's finally happened. They left. I'm alone in a world that I never really got along with anyway. I'm alone. As the boy weeps into his hands, facing the weight of his new eternal solitude, he's interrupted by sudden movement. It's a bloke going into 7-Eleven to buy an iced coffee. Oh, all good then. Upon further inspection, there are a few people around, actually. There's a bloke working in the 7-Eleven behind the cashier, and I can hear cars too if I actually listen and be a little bit quiet. All good, my bad.
Put that to some beautiful chords. We've got an MGMT song. The Pedestrian and the Beyond. I love it.
Thanks.
I love that.
Thank
Keep
you.
them up.
More.
Thanks for that.
That's okay. Tell me if you guys want more.
Through the Looking Glass?
Through the Looking Glass, Tales from the Beyond.
How do you see the Looking Glass?
It's my Twilight Zone. So
the actual Looking Glass itself.
So the Looking Glass augments. We can see through the Looking Glass.
Is it a crystal ball?
It's like it's like a prism.
Okay.
And it's a prism that allows you to, if we look through the Looking Glass, it seems to be augment what's already there, but actually it's a whole new world entirely, a backwards twisted unknown world. And from within this prism, I'm pulling narratives, and that's one of them.
Oh, it's the Wizard's Orb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, seeing things that shouldn't really be seen.
Can I just ask, have you been looking at Through the Looking Glass when you've been needing to go to the toilet here?
Robbie ducked off to the loo just before, and I'd just been in there, so I knew what he was going to face. Waterworld.
It's fucked. So we've talked about it before, but for those that are just joining us now, so Dart lives in this apartment by himself. It's a beautiful apartment, awesome. The only catch is that he shares a bathroom with another apartment on the same level, and they seem to be, unfortunately, weirdly inconsiderate people that leave the toilet soaked. I don't know why it's always so soaked, but it is.
Because the shower's in there as well.
The shower's in there, but that's no excuse for why there is as much water outside of that shower.
It's insane.
Let's be clear, there's a glass for the shower. So it's not like this is just spraying all over the shop, but it may as well be. The other thing is that they always leave the washing machine with that crap full of the crap's always full there, and also dryer. They use the shower and they go to the toilet for such extended lengths that recently, what happened?
Recently, I did not use the bathroom much. I only obviously go in there when I need to. They're always in there. It's always occupied. Always.
You were in your home.
I was in my home.
You needed to go to the bathroom.
I needed to
what
urinate,
happened?
and it was busy. There was someone in there, and I was busting to go, so I had to take a bucket and piss in the bucket in my apartment.
In your kitchen? Where did you do it?
In the kitchen, near
Where?
the sink,
So,
wedged in between that.
Did you get on your knees?
No. I held the bucket there. And
You held the
pissed.
bucket?
Yeah. To avoid, I was really mindful and uncomfortable about any splashback in my kitchen.
In a home that he pays not a small amount to live in on a weekly basis, this is his home.
That's true.
And when I brought that up, hopefully that hit home.
It hit.
Because you were sort of like, you were sort of like, oh, it's not that bad. And I'm like, you pay enough that you shouldn't be pissing in a bucket.
Yeah, I really should.
Let's be serious.
I know. I should be able to piss.
It's
in a
pretty
toilet.
funny though. And fuck, I hope we can include a picture of that bucket somewhere here.
I sent it. Yeah, I'd watched the piss out, but we will include a picture here because I sent one to Jordan.
And you poured the piss where?
Down the kitchen sink.
Down the kitchen sink.
Which you think is disgusting.
I don't like that. But there's an argument to be made that it's like anything else, you know.
Interesting.
I just think that. I mean, you know, it's interesting to say that because what would I have preferred? That you leave a stinking mess of piss in a bucket for however long until such time as you can leave it elsewhere? Maybe that's worse.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I thought we should quickly touch on the party I had as well.
Yeah. Had a housewarming here. It was pretty epic.
Yeah. So how many people do we reckon we had in here?
1, 2. There was 4 of us. No, it was about 16, I reckon.
It was more than that. There was
comings and goings.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like it was a round robin of just awesome people.
And the reason I bring this up is because this place is very small.
Yeah.
So everyone was very squashed together. And we had I felt like I kept saying to people, I'd taken mushrooms and I was very high and it felt like I felt like an extra in episode of Friends. It felt like a party that they would have it in Friends. It felt like a Sims party. I felt like a sim. We did have this awesome moment where Robbie brought out a guitar and we were in a big circle and we all sang Dear Mr. Trump by Jordan Sharp.
We did. I'd like to, I mean, I'll put the recording in here of what I made.
Oh, yeah. So
Jordan had this song. He did this voice memo into the group chat of Dear Mr. Trump, which I'll include as well. And then I extrapolated on that to make this song.
Dear Mr. Trump, why won't you stop with all the hate and all the lies we can see through your disguise? Dear Mr. Trump, please go away.
Dear Mr. Trump, why won't you stop with all the hate and all the lies? We can't see through your disguise. Dear Mr. Trump, won't you go away? Yeah, we're dear Mr. Trump. Why won't you stop with all the hate and all the lies? We can't see through your disguise. Dear Mr. Trump, dear Mr. Trump. Well, it's an awful conversation we have to keep going through. I thought we voted you out, and we're still in that nightmare. Oh, dear Mr. Trump, won't you please go away forever, please? I'm sick of it, and we need some clarity. Dear Mr. Trump, why won't you stop with all the hate and all the lies? We can see through your disguise.
Yeah, it was so fun to make music again.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was great to sing along.
And we had a really good end of the night as well. The people who were left, which was me, Jordan, Rob, Charlie, and Bridie, I had a half a Cuban cigar.
Yeah, that was cool.
Bought by my beautiful
cool.
friend Jack Clough, who will be listening, and for my friend Jeremy, his wedding, and we all smoked them. But I had half of the cigar left because they're fucking huge. And we walked out in the street, and we lit it up, and we smoked.
Yeah,
and walked up and down the street playing guitar and chatting.
Fucking
vibing.
Just feeling the neighborhood.
Which was a nice feeling.
Yeah. It was awesome. Thanks so much for having us.
My pleasure.
Two last things I want to touch on before we have to go, because we have to go. I'm seeing some notifications on your computer here.
Hate that.
You're getting notifications about ASMR channels on YouTube. What's this about? What's this about?
I don't know how to manage those, and I guess I've got notifications. I don't use.
You've clicked the bell as well.
I feel like I've never clicked a bell.
So why do you get like? Do you? I don't know.
I don't engage.
That's fascinating.
That is not like you haven't like caught me on something.
No,
it's
no.
Like
I'm just
my
interested.
YouTube push notification me, and I've never agreed to or liked that happen.
That's really scary.
Yeah, it sucks. So
that
like,
sucks.
yeah. ASMR unpredictable triggers for ting tangs.
We know you love ASMR. You actually showed me and Jordan some ASMR the other night. That was pretty weird. It was like, I guess, do you know what? For me, it sort of does actually validate what I think about ASMR, which is like, it is just titillation. Like, people say it's like, oh, I just relax, but it's like, no, I think people are actually sexually titillated by this. But we've talked about this. Let's not go into it heaps. That's my, that's what I reckon.
But like, don't you think those videos were like, you get a massage when you're at the hairdressers?
Yeah.
And this was like that, but extended to full body. He was like a barber.
From Lithuania or something.
Yeah.
Called Anal. His name's Anal.
His name's Anil. A-N-I-L. Anal.
The styling of these sets is extremely off-putting.
Yeah, they're fucked. They look like a Kmart Lithuanian chugi.
I've never seen something so Eastern European as whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah, it was
anyway,
weird.
But the last thing, can I just say one last thing on loss of life? One last thing. What is the most pedestrian thing? What is the thing that is going to happen to everybody? We are going to die. What is the thing that is so supremely overwhelming for each and every one of us? That very fact. This is why the album is so powerful to me. It breathes both those feelings so effortlessly throughout it. It is both the most pedestrian and the most supreme phenomenon that we reckon with as conscious beings.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. And
all right, you've been in the Looking Glass. This is the Weedcast.
Weedcast, baby.
Like the Instagram. We're on X, FKA, Twitter. We're actually not at all. Yeah, join the Discord. Subscribe to the Patreon if you want a exclusive episode. And we hope you're doing well. Speak to you soon.